Mr. Faskel has cut my hair since I moved to the city about 3 years ago. He's an older guy, maybe 50s or 60s, and he possesses that look and drawl that make me think he's from up north somewhere. He could be from New York, Maine, or even the Great Lakes area, but I never asked him where. He's not a big guy, maybe $1.20 in the rain, and he cuts my hair just the way I like it. High and tight on the sides, leave me some on top so whoever I'm sleeping with has something to play with, and neaten up my sideburns. I can't grow a real beard, or he'd probably trim that for me too. The best part is, he does it all for free. Hard to believe, I know, but it seems there was a cost after all. Our relationship started easily enough. I had an interview with the city, maintenance and custodial, and I wanted to look sharp for the interview. Everything other than that paid nothing, or barely nothing, and I really wanted to lock this job down. I had a nice set of interview clothes, some comfortable business shoes, and a winning smile. Now all I needed was a sharp haircut to seal the deal. That's where the problem lies. My hair grows abnormally fast. It always has, and when I was a kid, my dad used to bemoan the fact. He made jokes about going to barber school or buying stock in master cuts, but he always understood that when it was time for a cut, it was time for a cut. If you let it go longer than 2 weeks without a cut, it just turned into a shapeless mass. By the end of week 3, I looked like a sheepdog, and Dad would look over his paper and sigh before saying that it was time to take me to the barber. Faskel's Hair and Beards was about a block from my house, and when I stuck my head in to get their prices, Mr. Faskel looked up and smiled at me over a pile of hair he was sweeping up. Then, suddenly, he took a deep breath, and when he opened his eyes again, I asked if everything was okay. "Just fine, young man. Say, you look like a man in need of a haircut. Am I right?" I told him he sure was, and he invited me in and told me to have a seat. He had about 1,000,000 questions on my first visit. No, I didn't usually let it get this long. I liked it this way, but a little long on the top. No, I didn't use any special shampoo, just the dandruff shampoo from the Dollar General. No, I wasn't really prone to dry scalp, but a fella can never be too careful. On and on and on and on until finally it was done. He had cut it just right, the perfect length, the perfect fade, everything. I asked him what I owed him, and he told me it was free. "Come on," I said, "you gotta charge me something." "I let my customers decide what they can afford, so whatever you can afford is fine with me. Think of it as a tip." I was okay with that, and I walked out with a free haircut, while Mr. Faskel waved me out with a $10 tip. I left with a spring in my step. I felt like a new man, and I was ready for that job interview. I went home, got a shower, and when I looked in the mirror, I knew I had this. The next time I went to see Mr. Faskel, I left him a $20 tip and told him that it was all thanks to him that I'd gotten my awesome new job. For the next couple of years, I always went to Mr. Faskel's when I needed a cut. If I had a date coming up, I went to see Mr. Faskel. Promotion interview at work? Faskel. I told my friends about the shop. I went there just to get touch-ups and talk with the old fella. In no time at all, Mr. Faskel and I were friends. He liked the same sporting team I did, watched a lot of the same movies and TV shows I did, and even liked a lot of the same classic rock that I did. It was great, and I always looked forward to my bi-monthly haircut. Then, about 2 months ago, it all changed. I had come in to get my bi-monthly haircut, telling Mr. Faskel about the previous week as he cut and styled my hair. He was always meticulous, getting everything just right as he cut and trimmed, and when he turned me around to look in the mirror, it was the same way I'd gotten it for the last 3 years. I thanked him, handed him a 20, and told him I'd see him next time. "Of course," Mr. Faskel said, sweeping up the hair. "Come back any time." I was leaving, almost a block up the street, when I realized I didn't have my sunglasses. They were my brand new Oakleys, too, and they'd cost quite a bit of cash. I remembered having them when I came in, taking them off my head, and setting them down at the station that Mr. Faskel used. No problem, I thought. I'll just go back and get them. I stepped in, saying I'd forgotten my sunglasses and was just going to grab them. That's when I saw them. Mr. Faskel was looking up guiltily, his eyes panicked. He was down on all fours, eating the hair he had swept up off the ground, like he was a cow in the field. When he turned, I could see pieces of hair sticking to his lip like accusations. He stood up, wiping himself off and brushing at his mouth as he tried to explain. Now, I know what this looks like, and I'll admit that, yes, I was eating your hair, but you have to understand your hair is what I look forward to. I don't eat just anyone's hair. Well, I used to. Now I can't wait to see you come in so I can eat something good. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy, he shouted, getting up as he stalked towards me. He seemed to realize that saying that made him sound crazy, so he switched gears. Haven't I always done good work for you? There's nowhere in this town where you could get a haircut for less than $25. I cut your hair for tips. I've cut your hair for the dollars in your pocket. I've been good to you, and you've been a good customer. Let's just pretend this never happened, okay? Let's just go back to... But I didn't hear the rest. I snatched up my sunglasses and was out the door before he could say another word. I spent a while thinking about that, and the more I processed it, the worse it seemed to get. It began to haunt my dreams, seeing him bent over, eating the hair straight off the floor, looking back at me and grinning with my hair in his teeth. And I'd wake up in a cold sweat. I know it's not a particularly scary dream, but it freaked me the hell out. I don't really like it when people put hair in their mouth. I had a girl in elementary school who used to chew on her pigtails, and it bred in me a lifetime phobia. Just the thought of wet hair in someone's mouth makes me want to puke, and I can't even touch someone's hair without cringing if they have a wig on. I know, it's a weird collection of phobias, but they're mine. It only took a couple of weeks before I started seeing new growth. My hair just grows too fast, and after 3 weeks, my boss commented that I was looking shabby. He handed me a 20 out of his own wallet and told me to go get a trim over lunch. I took it and started looking for somewhere to get a trim. The city had quite a few shops, but it seemed like wherever I went, I caught someone looking at me out of the corner of my eye. It was never anything I could prove, just a feeling, and when I looked up, I could almost swear I'd catch a glimpse of Mr. Faskell. He was gone when I looked up, but it made me extremely paranoid. I became aware of more than a glimpse as the weeks went on. When I rode the bus to work, I caught the familiar deep inhale of someone smelling my hair. When I was standing in a lunch line, I felt my hair move as someone inhaled. When I was at Walmart buying groceries, someone actually touched my hair, but they were gone when I turned around. It led me to become something of a recluse, and I only left the house if it was to go to work. Over time, my hair grew out, and I decided that I would have to get another cut. I went to bed, setting my alarm so I could get up early enough to go to Master Cuts down on Bonnie. It was Saturday. I had the day off, and I had chores to do before the business of relaxation. As I slipped off to sleep, I fell into a familiar dream, a dream that had plagued me for weeks. I was sitting in the chair at Mr. Faskell's, the cape falling around me like a spider web, and the old man asking if it was too tight. I didn't say anything. I was too scared to speak, and as the scissors began to clip, I trembled in fear. I didn't dare look back at the old man. I just knew his real face would be replaced by a monstrous visage, and I would wake up panting and looking around for nothing at all. When the alarm went off, I went to the bathroom to splash some water on my face and start the shower. My bare shoulders itched, and when I went to wipe it off, I noticed there was hair clinging to my sweaty hand. Not a lot, just leavings, like the leavings you find after a haircut. I ran to the bathroom and found that my hair was cut just the way I liked it. The sides were high and tight. The top was manageable but still thick, and My bangs were perfect. Everything was just as it usually was, and I felt a cold chill run through me that had nothing to do with the air conditioner. I called my landlord. I had the locks changed and reported to the police that someone had broken into my house and cut my hair. The police didn't really take it seriously. They made jokes about a midnight barber and asked if I'd left a tip under my pillow. I told them about Mr. Faskel, but when I gave them the address, they just shook their heads and walked away. They thought I was joking with them. They didn't believe a word of what I told them. And as I ran the shower, I remember sitting under the water for a very long time, just letting it run over me. The bits of hair flowing down the drain felt like a betrayal. 2 weeks later, I woke up to another fresh haircut. I called the police again, but they rolled their eyes and told me to calm down. I told them it was hard for me to calm down when someone was breaking into my house and cutting my hair. I demanded they go check on Mr. Faskel and told them right where the shop was, but they looked less than amused this time at the suggestion. I asked if they had talked to him yet, told them that he had been my barber for the last 3 years, but they just told me it hadn't been funny the first time, and it wasn't funny now. Why would it be funny? I asked, having to stop myself from grabbing one of them. Because Faskel's has never been opened. It's a prop for the city's revitalization project, like Cooley's Flowers across the street or Green Butcher beside it. It's just set dressing. It's never open. Mr. Faskel was a guy who owned a barbershop in the 1920s. He's dead. There's no Faskel who cuts hair. They left, and that left me pretty rattled. Mr. Faskel isn't a ghost. I know that. I have friends who go to him. I felt him touch me. He's flesh and blood, just like I am. I'm sure of it. The fact that he eats hair is incidental. The man is real, but if he isn't Mr. Faskel, then who is he? How does he keep breaking into my house? I have windows in my room, but they're barred with pieces of broom handle. I live on the 3rd floor, for God's sake. I changed the locks again. I wedged a chair under my door, and when I finally made myself calm down enough to sleep, I hoped it would end. I woke up completely bald this time. Not buzzed, not a zero guard, but bald. Like someone had shaved my head in my sleep and took the hair. They got my eyebrows too, my 5 o'clock shadow, my thick sideburns. I was as smooth and hairless as a newborn baby. I don't know what to do. I can't call the cops. They won't believe me. I can't call my landlord. He's replaced the locks twice now. And he's getting angry about it. I can't afford to move. I can't leave my job. I'm stuck. What I did find, however, was a message on my nightstand. I'm sure the cops will say that I wrote it, but I know I didn't. There's hair on it. It's written in a heavy hand, like a kid's scribbles. It's done on the back of an ad for Faskel's Hair and Beards, and the implication was pretty obvious. Come see me when it grows back. If you don't, it makes no difference. I know where to find you. You're still here. Thanks so much for joining us for tonight's spooky tale. If you'd like a little bit more spooky in your life, why not click on one of the videos that appears at the end of our story, or maybe head on over to one of our playlists where you can get your fill of spooky content. If you like your spooky a little more tactile, I've got a new book that's come out. If you'd like your own copy, there's a link below in the description where you can get your own copy of my spooky book. If you like what you see here on the channel and think you might like to support in a more monetized way, then why not come over to Patreon or become a member on YouTube? Speaking of, let's go ahead and thank our members now. Thanks to Civ Garstad, Unicorn Hollow, and Army Dude for being our Spooky Ghost contributors. Thanks to Janet, Lee Kendall, Saikat, Ronda J, Sue Casper, and Valinator for being our Spooky Skeleton contributors. And thanks to Oh Snap, Hi Stacy, Winter, Xaronan, Stephanie Carrington, Tyler Parker, Cinnamon Fox, Grim Reaper, TomBoiTopUwU, and Queen Sheebah for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. And a big thanks to Scott Donahue for being our Ghostly Writer tier contributor. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you'd like to support the channel, then come on down to Patreon or become a member on YouTube. Spooky Skeleton tier contributors, that's our $5 tier, get their spooky 12 hours early at 8:30 a.m. as opposed to 8:30 p.m. My time, of course. And while Ghostly Reading is only a tier that's available on Patreon, you get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one on your doorstep in, hopefully, a timely manner. If you'd like a book, we have many on Amazon. I've got links below if you'd like to follow those. Should get you to my page so you can buy any one of my 8 books I believe we're up to now. I'm sure they'd look really nice on your shelf, and I'll sign them for you if you can find me out in the wild. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.